forefront of this initiative, given that we have 800 kilometers of the coastline. So effectively, we are a maritime province. And so it is in our interest that we leverage on this resource, but in a sustainable way, given that it's a natural resource that must be whose resources that are in it must be managed in a sustainable way. That's why we even have that qualifier that it's a sustainable a growth webinar. So we are going to have a conversation today about the work that we are doing to try to get a sense of this opportunity that's in front of us in terms of its quantity, its size, how big is it, and what potential does it hold to catalyze growth and job creation in the province. We've never really had such a conversation where we say let's just appreciate this resource that we have. A lot of our efforts have largely been on launching initiatives, driving those initiatives, getting things done, and a lot of work has been done across the country. So today we are going to have that conversation about appreciating the size of the sector from a quantitative point of view. And this is the project that EXEC is currently embarking on. And as you know, the popular saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So there's always been this need that we really need to measure the size and the potential of the ocean's economy in the Eastern Cape, so that when we say it is our competitive advantage as a province, we really know what we are talking about. When we say the ocean's economy holds the potential to catalyze growth and open opportunities for job creation, what are we actually talking about? So this is the project that we've started. And so it's at the heart of the conversation we are going to be having today. And so, but for us to appreciate that, we need a strategic context for it. You know, we can't just talk about how you're going to measure the economy without the broader a context of exactly what are we talking about, what are we doing at a strategy and policy level to drive the ocean's economy agenda. So that's why you can see on the agenda there that we have our colleague from DEFF, Department of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, Mashia Costin. This is where the National Secretariat of Operation Pakisa Oceans Economy is based at. So they are like the national drivers that are anchoring this work that we are doing. So she's going to be talking to us and reflecting on the road traversed thus far in unlocking the blue gold potential in South Africa. My colleagues came up with this concept of blue gold. We really liked it. And what are the issues for consideration? You know, ever since we've started this initiative, what are we learning from it? What are we seeing as the opportunity that can come out of this initiative? And then after that, we will have a provincial perspective, more or less of the same, from our colleague Uviwe from EXEC, who is the project manager for the oceans economy, and newly appointed just a few days. But she's not new to the job. She's been doing it for a couple of years. Then the third presentation, it's our colleague Prof. Eita from the University of Johannesburg. they are the ones that are helping us as EXEC to quantify the size, the scope, and the opportunity of the oceans economy in the province, because it requires a specific expertise, to quantify the a particular sector or a particular industry in an economy. So they're going to be speaking on that. It's quite an exciting initiative. I hope all of you will be interested, even if you may not be directly involved, but you'll be interested to know what they'll be doing, what's the product that's gonna come out of that, and how is it going to be helpful for all of us involved. And then we'll then have a discussion after that. These colleagues are not gonna be long, so the presentations will be short. And with that, I welcome you, colleagues, to the meeting, and call upon Marcia. I saw her coming in. You can go ahead, Marcia, upload your presentation. We are not going to take in introductions, colleagues, because there's quite a number of us. But when the time comes for you to speak, you can always introduce yourself, who you are, where you come from, so that we can get to know you and appreciate you for honoring our invitation today. Marcia, are you good? I want to give the floor over to you.
Yes, good morning, everybody.
Yes, okay.
Thank you for the invitation. Let me try and share this.
Zonga, can you take down the agenda?
Can you tell me if it's sharing?
Yes, it's sharing. We can see it. Yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I just actually wanted to switch on my camera for a moment. Give me a second, if you don't mind. Just give me a second. Good morning, everybody. I'm Marsha Corsten from, it's actually DFFE. So it is the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment.
And environment. My apologies for us. Yes, it's DFFE. Yes, you are correct. Sorry about that.
No problem. And that is the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. And I am the head of the Oceans Economy team. And as indicated, the National Ocean Economy Secretariat is lying within our department. And we are responsible for managing, facilitating, implementing the ocean economy initiatives. So I just wanted to put on my camera and then I will share my screen again. Okay. Window. Okay, is the presentation reflecting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I've been asked to talk about the road traversed thus far in unlocking the blue gold potential in South Africa. I think maybe just to start off with a broad context, and I did hear mention of the Eastern Cape coastline. So for the entire country, our coastline is approximately 3,600 kilometers. I think that geographically positions us, and also the nature of where we are globally, in quite a unique strategic location to build up a strong maritime economy. And one of our aims is to be recognized as a maritime nation. What is an interesting fact that many people don't know, I think most people know that 2/3 of the world is ocean. But if you just look at the South African context, we actually as a country manage an ocean space that is larger than our land territory, if you look at the figures there. And furthermore, if there is any extensions, it will double the size, and there are proposals around that. So that is also just to strategically locate us. Furthermore, on our context, we know that we are located on one of the world's major shipping routes, which is quite critical to global marine transportation. We also have one of the longest coastlines in Africa. And what is also part of our unique biodiversity is that we are influenced by three oceans, namely the Atlantic, Indian, and Southern Oceans. And increasingly, I'm learning the importance of understanding some of the science around our oceans and how that also impacts on our ocean economy. So we also have the nature of our ocean space is that it also supports thousands of jobs across various ocean-based industries. I was looking at a recent report by UNCTAD on trade and environment review that indicates that about 3 billion people in the world are supported by our ocean space. So if we are looking at South Africa particularly, the estimates are saying that about 40% of our population lives within 60 kilometers of our coast. And also from an economic perspective, over 90% of all trade has a maritime element. So I think that outlines the importance. So as you would know, many years ago, about 10 years ago, well, not that many, but about a decade ago, this country took a position to focus on the ocean economy. It was done through the Operation Pakisa program, which is still running, based in the presidency, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the ocean economy team here in DFFE. We provide that secretariat and specialist support to the Operation Pakisa program. And there was some labs that were happening at the time. It was an intense program where people came from government, academia, private sector to focus on looking at how do we unlock the economic potential of South Africa's oceans. So firstly, they needed to understand what that economic potential was, and the economic analysis that was done, as you can see highlighted on the slide, showed that looking at the economic potential, the aspiration was to move to 1 million jobs in 2033, based on the baseline of 316,000 jobs in the ocean economy sectors in 2010, and then also to grow the GDP contribution by about 1.82% from what it was in 2015. So that was the aspirations that were set out based on the economic analysis done at the time. Now, as I said, the potential that was identified was that the oceans have the potential to contribute up to 177 billion rand to the GDP and create over 1 million jobs by 2023. This analysis was based on 9 sectors that comprise South Africa's ocean economy. These 9 sectors that were looked at includes marine manufacturing and transport, tourism, offshore oil and gas, construction, renewable energy, fisheries and aquaculture, communication, desalination, marine protection services. And then what the analysis also showed at the time is that 4 economic sectors or industries, namely the marine transport and manufacturing, tourism, offshore oil and gas and construction, was estimated to account for more than 2/3 of the value and the jobs to be created in the next 20 years. And then another big driver of employment was within the fisheries and aquaculture sector. What then resulted was a program that focused particularly on a selection of sectors to drive the country's ocean economy. It did not cover all the sectors, but the prioritization was around marine transport and manufacturing, offshore oil and gas, aquaculture, marine protection services, and ocean governance. Later on, small harbors development and coastal and marine tourism was also added, and this was underpinned by the enablers of skills development and capacity building, as well as research, technology, and innovation. The entire spectrum of the various government departments that have focused and are involved in the ocean economy is very broad. There are a number of acronyms that you will see on the slide. these all represent government departments in various spaces, from transport to monitoring, planning, monitoring and evaluation, to science and innovation, to higher education, to public works infrastructure, rural development, employment, labor, national treasury, small business development, Department of Defense, economic development, tourism, international relations, basic education, water and sanitation, provinces, private sector, civil society, labor and academia, and also what is not there, but also a big player, is of course the local government space. So you will see that focusing on an ocean economy, it requires broad collaboration, because it's not like some other sectors that's very specific only in one domain. The work cuts across various spaces. So then we moved on, and there was another study that was commissioned to look at updating what the ocean economy potential was and is. And this study showed that the social and economic benefits of the ocean's economy to South Africa accounted for just under 5%, so 4.47% of the country's GDP, and 2.86% of total employment. That was in 2020. A new baseline was kind of calculated. And then forecasting on that for 2035, the suggestion was that the GDP contribution would move to 4.54, so still just under 5%, and still just under 3% of the country's employment. That is looking at the direct contribution, but we do also know that within the ocean economy space, there are a number of economic multipliers across the value chain. As I mentioned, it's very expansive if you look at the ocean economy. So one of the things is that even though, people would look at Operation Phakisa in terms of investment or jobs or GDP, the nature of the program is it focused on identifying at really the lowest levels of operations what actions need to be taken to unblock challenges within the ocean economy and also capitalize on opportunities within the ocean economy. And so there's been various successes and various initiatives that were underway and committed to as part of the Ocean Economy Operation Phakisa. So I've just given a sense, and I won't go through all of them, but you will see that particularly marine transport and manufacturing, there was various ship repair infrastructure projects that have taken place. There was various skills development projects that actually happened over the last 10 years. In offshore oil and gas, it was looking at the phase gas pipeline network corridors. There was an incident management organization that was established to particularly look at the issue of oil spills, and it was a coordinated, it's still happening, coordinated responses, also skills mapping. Aquaculture as a particular subsector that was focused on, looked at aquaculture development zones, which we have across the country, looked at legislation. So there is an aquaculture development bill, really looking at also accessing new markets and small-scale support for aquaculture farmers, marine protection and ocean governance. We are one of the countries that have a Marine Spatial Planning Act. There's also an ocean and coastal information system that provides various intelligence that can be used for those operating within the ocean space, and other issues that influence the economic sectors. So, for example, water quality monitoring. Coastal and marine tourism looked at focusing on market events and routes across the various coastal regions. Beach precinct development, tourism infrastructure, so looking at all of these things, and skills development, and then also on the small harbour development, there are various focus areas there as well. So those were and are some of the areas of focus that we're building on within the ocean economy space. Then in June 2019, the government approved the Reimagine Industrial Strategy, selected 15 sectors to focus on. The ocean economy is one. This highlights the importance of the ocean economy sector. The master plan process commenced, and the purpose of the ocean economy master plan, as it was indicated, I'm giving a bit of the strategic perspective, is to advance stabilization, revival, and growth of the subsectors within the ocean economy. You will see the timing. This started off post-COVID, so globally, nationally, economies took quite a dip. The ocean economy was, of course, not unaffected, particularly given trade, tourism, and all of those things. So this is where the focus is. How do we stabilize, revive, and grow the sectors? It builds on the Operation Pakisa baseline work, further unpacks subsector value chains, and the focus is on how do you continue to resolve the bottlenecks that limit the sector and also unlock the potential. We are in the process of finalizing the Ocean Economy Master Plan, and I am aware that the Eastern Cape province is also looking at updating their own master plan. Sorry, and aligned to the National Ocean Economy Master Plan. So the subsectors for, sorry, the subsectors for focus there. Just give me a second.
Okay, take your time. Don't worry. Take a sip of water and a deep breath. We need that voice perfect and sound.
Okay, I really apologize about that. I'm still seeming to have an issue with my voice.
Yes, don't worry about it. Take it easy.
Okay, so as I
Okay.
was saying, there are 5 sectors that are now prioritized under the Ocean Economy Master Plan. And 4 of these sectors are linked to the Operation Pakisa. What is additional is the wild capture fisheries. So that includes both small scale and commercial. Through the extensive stakeholder engagements, it was identified that this is a very important sector, from an economic perspective, and that's why it's included. And then marine manufacturing and repairs and marine transport was split into 2 particular focus areas, both led by the Department of Transport, but given its unique value chains, was decided to have a separate focus. So just to end off with considerations, and now that my voice is back, thank you for your patience. I thought given the strategic perspective of where we've come from an ocean economy perspective, from Operation Pakisa, what was the potential identified, moving on to the master plan with its specific focus areas, and in line with what the theme of this webinar is, which is about quantifying, I thought just to perhaps highlight a couple of considerations. The one is the focus on sustainable development. So whilst we are looking at an oceans economy, how do we also take into account making sure that there's sustainable resource use, looking at the socio-economic factors. And in fact, the master plan has a vision of unlocking socio-economic potential, and also linking to the environment and the SDGs, and then also the definition. So that seems to be something that comes up, what falls under the Blue Oceans economy, what sectors are selected. So for example, if we have 5 sectors in the Ocean Economy Master Plan or 6 sectors in Pakisa with some enablers, it does not mean that it encapsulates all the entire ocean economy space, but it is that specific subsectors that are perhaps focused on. So you will see that the planning focuses on prioritizing a set that is deemed to have the highest potential impact. But there are, of course, other sectors to look at. Then data availability, quality of data, and disaggregation for measurement is an important element to look at. And in any measurement, it needs to be considered. And also the level of the data that you are particularly looking at. And then the other one is to consider ecosystem services. So when we look at the oceans economy, we look at it from the perspective of ocean-based industries, and those subsectors. But then there are also other movements now to look at natural capital so for example, the value of the ecosystem services that are provided by marine and coastal environments. And for example, also some other non-market benefits. So as an example, um, our natural beauty and aesthetic value. How do you actually take that into account? Ocean governance is also important when we are talking about ocean economy, because the ocean's obviously linked. So how do we conduct the policy and affairs around the oceans, linking also with some of our international partners, is something to think about. And then for me, an integrated and inclusive approach is very important when we are talking about an ocean economy. One, as I mentioned, you will see there's various role players. Many of the sectors have interlinkages with each other. For example, if you're looking at fisheries and aquaculture, it links to manufacturing. It links to agriculture. Transport is an important element across all. So, how do you actually take that into account? Also, there are multi-dimensional impacts of a growing ocean economy. So other than economic, there's also social, socio-economic, cultural, and environmental elements. And from an inclusive perspective, I think very important for us to consider that it's about the people. So sometimes it's about jobs, sometimes it's about livelihoods. And about connecting people to the ocean economy. So that's also critical. And then I think just generally, I welcome this webinar. I thank you again for the invitation, and in advance thank the Eastern Cape for the work that they're doing in the presentation, and the work also been done by the colleague, the professor, because what we really need to do is enhance the understanding of the sustainable oceans and blue economy within our South African context, so that we can continue promoting unlocking the economic potential. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marcia, for such a lucid presentation, straight to the point. I really like it. I was told that you are under pressure for time because of competing commitments, but it would have been great. I'm not sure your time pressure exactly, because my colleague Viwe, if she could come in so that we then we can take your discussion of the discussion of your presentation and hers jointly, since they are so interlinked. Then Prof. Eita's discussion, we can take it later separately. After this, you can just alert me if you're cut off. When is your cutoff time? Because viewers' presentation is also not long. I would wish if all of us could have a complete view of the national picture and how the province is responding given that national picture. And if you could just have a sight of that.
So, Program Director, I will be able to stay on the webinar until about 11 o'clock.
Oh, that should be okay. Yeah, that should be fine.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, let's have a viewer coming in. Then we can have a presentation on the strategy aspects, as you had Marcia was speaking more about the strategy at the national level, what they are looking at, and there's some key considerations. And I think she has given us a taster of what, especially from a methodology side, that Prof. Eita will be speaking to. I think those first few points she spoke about, that when we quantify the economy, the ocean's economy, what are the things we need to consider? I think that's a very good taster for that presentation. Viewer, are you uploading your presentation?
Thank you so much, Debu. Probably as Marcia done, let me just turn off my video for a sec, just So colleagues can put, the face to the voice. Good morning to everyone. I am Viwe Fokwebe. I am the project manager for the Oceans Economy, based at EXEC. Thank you so much for the response, to the conversation here today. I think the conversation about the oceans economy is really one that needs to be amplified as we are organizing ourselves. So I'll be going through the presentation, giving just a perspective, at provincial level in terms of driving the oceans economy.
Yeah. We can't see your presentation. Have you started uploading it?
I'll upload it just now.
Okay. And if you can save us 10 minutes before Marcia has to dash off, just for colleagues to reflect.
I'll try my best. I
Okay.
really shouldn't be long. All right. Can you just confirm if you can see?
Yes, please put it on a slide mode. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll be giving then the context in terms of the provincial overview in driving the oceans economy, and this is the outline of my presentation. So just as a way of introduction, I think Marcia has really done a good, introduction and context about the oceans economy. So what about this blue gold and within the context of the Eastern Cape? We do boast a significant coastline, 800-kilometer of coastline. It's rich with marine resources, and it does really present a substantial, opportunity for economic growth and development. The pictures, as you see there, they illustrate some of the ocean-related sectors that we have active in the province. You see there the maritime transport and manufacturing. We see the oil and gas. We see the small harbors, the aquaculture, and the fisheries as well. The fisheries sector it's one that has really been neglected, if I may say so, previously. And I think then as a province, in recognition of its contribution and potential, strides have really been undertaken to prioritize it, and particularly the small-scale fisheries. We recognize that the small-scale fisheries, they play a vital role in the economy and the welfare at local level. So, and specifically, especially then here in the Eastern Cape, we understand the sector's role as the potential driver for rural economic development. And I think then hence we've done studies and taken empirical studies that enable us then to really understand the sector, and dedicated strategies also have been formulated to unlock the potential of the sector. Also, then is the coastal and marine tourism. This is one of the labs also that seems to be one of the biggest contributors in terms of CAPEX. This is what has been suggested in terms of the qualitative research that we've conducted thus far, even though that is still not concluded, but it seems then the coastal and marine tourism is really taking up space. It consists of development in the various nature reserves and beaches. Yeah, so over and above this, also then we prioritize the cross-cutting sectors, which is the marine education and skills, and marine protection and ocean governance as well. So yeah, we've gotten a national perspective from Marcia, and I think next presentation will detail the numbers and the figures about the oceans economy and its economic value and potential. But however, let us then look at the value proposition in terms of the Eastern Cape. So here in the slide, I am demonstrating the value of the oceans economy value proposition. The sectors that contribute to the three key economic development priorities, those being the industrialization and sector development, maritime infrastructure and development, skills development as well. Within then the industrialization and sector development, we have the maritime transport and manufacturing. We have the aquaculture and the fisheries lab. We have the oil and gas, which includes the offshore bunkering as well. And then we're around the infrastructure development. The province is undertaking significant economic infrastructure development as the bedrock for unlocking the ocean's economy. And and the economic infrastructure initiatives that are under implementation in the ocean's economy space within the province, they include the small harbors, the port infrastructure development led by TNPA there, but also the coastal and marine tourism as well. As I had mentioned, that the education, the skills, and the training are an important pillar also for unlocking opportunities in the sector. The focus on this pillar is on maritime studies, on occupational programs, and short learning programs. You would know that in the province we have maritime subject offering high schools. We have TVET colleges. We have the likes of SAIMI as well that work, tirelessly in providing learning programs for our youth, for our enterprises, and for our local development as well. So there's really just been collective, support from various stakeholders that contribute immensely to the positive performance of the maritime education and the maritime awareness in the province. So there are other skills development initiatives that are being implemented by stakeholders, such as SAIMI, as I had mentioned, in the province. So the enablers really then come in as means to support the strategic pillars. And this is the value in having the technical secretariat housed at EXEC. That the secretariat then really has the capacity to foster the facilitation of a shared vision, to coordinate the provincial initiative, to provide evidence-based knowledge in terms of research, and focus is really around then project management, the fiscal analysis, and the labor market analysis. So moving on to the agenda that we are driving in the province in terms of the oceans economy, in advancing the sector. This, as it stands, is the agenda for the province. What we have here is really then the development goals, which we are driving within the oceans economy, but which align as well in terms of the provincial, development goals. The agenda then that we seek to drive growth and investment into the oceans economy industry. We seek to drive job creation in the maritime sector, driving transformation and inclusivity in the maritime sector, driving skills development, and this informed by the supply and the demand, out there and from industry, but also driving innovation and sustainability of the maritime sector. As we know, that the oceans economy is a multi-stakeholder, it's multi-sectoral. So a shared vision and coordinated efforts is what really then will realize this agenda into actionable plans and implementation. And then moving further on. Okay, my presentation is not moving right now. All right. And then moving further along, then in terms of the provincial oceans economy master plan, Marcia earlier on, just gave us insight in terms of the national master plan. As the Eastern Cape province as well, we have a master plan and a strategy really, which is a mechanism that pulls everyone together. It is a comprehensive and a clear plan of action that guides the work and the way in which we undertake that work in the province. Currently, the master plan 2024-2029 is at advanced stages of development. The previous strategy and its rollout really were affected by the COVID-19. I think Marcia did touch on this one and gave, some insights in terms of the COVID-19 context and the post-COVID-19 context. And then this is the case, and it really then affected the rollout of what was planned, and would be implemented in terms of that master plan. So critical deliverables were not realized, and some critical projects then also did not take off. So currently we are refining and evaluating to reflect new economic realities and potential. I think the next presentation will really touch on these realities in terms of the potential and the economic state, and both the qualitative and the quantitative research really that we are undertaking will reveal some of these realities and potential. This is my last slide, and focusing on the key success factors. What are some of the key success factors to realize the plans that we are undertaking and the actions that we are undertaking? Political buy-in is at the top, and it's really important and key that we do have championing at this level. I think this is the level that really builds confidence in the interventions and the initiatives that we drive, and efforts continue to be made to onboard and educate the political heads so that they are in understanding, of the sector and of the vision then that needs to be championed at that level. Also setting a clear roadmap and vision for sustainable development for the oceans economy. I think our oceans economy, our master plan strategic roadmap really then sets clear the roadmap and the vision for the achievement then of this sustainable development. Integrated planning and participatory are also in terms of the national perspective, this is also highlighted as a key consideration. And so from the province side as well, which we need to drive an inclusive process that involves all stakeholders, but also capacitated municipalities that must be positioned to drive a purposeful agenda to promote a vibrant and coastal local economy. The initiatives that we are driving, they take place at the local space, and therefore it's important that then we have efficiency in terms of the municipalities and the local economic development and rural economic development that has been driven at that level. Integration, having the oceans economy finding expressions in the departmental strategic plans, the municipal IDPs and the APPs as well, but also dedicated capacity for coordination and implementation. Of course, then monitoring and evaluation system that is coordinated and maybe that is centralized also becomes key in terms of success in driving the oceans economy, and resourcing and availability of funding for the implementation strategies in terms around the funding and resourcing of some of these initiatives to drive implementation also then becomes key. Of course, we acknowledge the challenges that sometimes hinder the success, and these largely speak to catalytic and adequate support to enterprises, to industries, to the projects that we are driving. Some challenges are of at a macro level in terms of the economy, in terms of the global value chains affecting the outlook of the sector. So whilst we celebrate, or we consider the success factors in driving the oceans economy, and so we acknowledge the challenges that we have to deal with. Of course, there are many, and we can outline many of them, but I think key is around the macro and just the adequate support to our enterprises and to the industries and the projects that we are driving. So this in broad is the perspective in terms of the province and in driving the initiative. I think I will stop here, Chair, hoping that at least this has been really informative in terms, and it paints a picture really of how we are organized in the province and how then we are driving the Oceans Economy Initiative. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Viwe. I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, you can agree that when a task is handled by ladies is handled most efficiently. Marcia and View have been very efficient in terms of time. And fortunately, we have 10 minutes time before Marcia could dash off. If there are any questions or reflections you'd like to make about her presentation, and as you can see, Viewer's presentation also articulate very nicely with Marcia's presentation in terms of the approach in driving the oceans economy agenda in the country and in the province. I think that's the context of these two presentations. You can see that they have not deliberately covered the details of each intervention because that was not the purpose. The purpose was to outline to the colleagues how you could say government is approaching the Oceans Economy Initiative, its coordination, and what are the key things that that we are looking at, and what's the progress? Where are we now, and where do we want to go? And that is to establish the context for saying then how do we quantify? How do we really get to know in quantitative and numbers terms the size of this oceans economy sector, so that even if we talk to investors, we talk to entrepreneurs, we really talk on the basis of the numbers that we know, that we have studied the industries, we have looked at the subsectors, we have looked at the components, and we can confidently say this is the potential that's before us. So these two were really setting the context for that presentation. Any takers, colleagues? Oh, okay, I can see there are hands already. Let me see. How do I check hands, Zwanga, here? Oh, okay. Ian, I see Ian. I see Vuyo, see Sakiwo, and Ndobeko. In that order, colleagues. Oh, and I see Zolani. Okay, five of you colleagues in that order. Ian, you can come first.
Yeah, I'm just checking if you're able to hear me, Chair. I'm in a bit of a busy place.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I'm Ian Asim from EXEC. Just directed to both speakers. I just want to get a clearer understanding of the timelines for the finalization of both the national and the provincial master plan, just to see when we can see those two key master plans come out, and hopefully they're synchronized. That's number one. Number two, also just some more details about the sort of roadmap and the milestones, so that one can get a sense of when certain interventions or issues will happen, and then how that dovetails with investors getting ready and all stakeholders being able to participate. Number three, the broad approach to reinforce inclusive development. In other words, are we issuing licenses? Do we give people a time frame to exercise those licenses? And then number four, the value chains. Can I just get some more information?
Okay, lastly, I've got 5 hands.
Yeah, I'm finished. That's the last one, Chair, the value chain. Just
Okay.
the more details about the value chain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ian. Very pointed questions. Vuyo, over to you.
Hi, good day, everyone. Mine is a quick one. We know aquaculture remains one of the major contributors within fisheries. So I just wanted to find out, with regards to the province stance, are they able then to quantify the contribution of this subsector, particularly the abalone farming? Because I've noticed that a less is said about abalone farming within the Eastern Cape, whereas it has the potential to create a lot of employment. And our ocean, as stated, is set in that it can be then that sector on its own be improved, and you have a lot of abalone farms that are established. But little has been done in that regard. And till today, we still have only one player within that abalone space. What is the department's plan, or rather, what is the province plan with regards to that? And are they able to quantify the contribution that that subsector particularly makes? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'm sure my colleagues, Prof. Eita and Jean-Luc, they are listening. This is the question that's very relevant to you in terms of from a methodology point of view. Can you give comfort to someone like Vuyo that his specific industry is concerned about, such as abalone? Will you be able to quantify that sector? I think that's a very relevant question. Okay, Sakiwo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, you can go ahead, Sakiwo. We can hear you.
Okay. First, on the presentation of Marcia, I think the issue of the Sustainable Development Goals, she highlighted a small part of it, was the Sustainable Development Goals will contribute, for instance, to the disruption of the entire oceans economy. For instance, we have renewable energy in the form of just energy transition that is being introduced in the country. And there are economic opportunities that South Africa needs to identify and exploit within the oceans economy. For instance, within the shipping fuel supply and all that, you see, because there are shifts around that issue.
Yes.
In terms of, for instance, ammonia, and because some ships are using diesel, or then there will be a need for cutting emissions. For instance, shifting to biofuels. You see, for instance, that is another opportunity within the oceans economy that needs to be exploited. It needs to be part of the strategy. You see.
Yes.
The other issue is that the strategy or the plan does not look at the political or the global shift or the Cold War that is taking place, and try and minimize the time frames in terms of implementation. Because, for instance, we've been talking about oceans economy since 2014, as far as I can remember, but we are lacking in terms of implementing it so that we take advantages of the opportunities that are presenting themselves globally. Because the economic shifts in terms of the supply chains opens up to African countries, you see, to explore those opportunities. But our country, our government is so slow in terms of implementing the master plan to take advantage of these opportunities so that we can exploit them. You see, that's another that we need to look. Because, for instance, when you talk of the red tape, cutting red tape and exploiting those opportunities, but then we've been talking about this for quite a long time, but nothing has been done about it. You see?
Yes. Okay.
So we need to take advantage of those issues. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Sakiwo. And Tobeko, and then lastly, it will be Zolan. And then, Masha, you can just take a few seconds to respond before you dash off.
Thanks, Debza. It's Ntobeko here. Good morning, colleagues. Masha, I think it's slide 4. It would have been great alongside the aspirations, the bar graphs you have there, alongside to have what in fact has been achieved. It's been 10 years of, as Mr. Pasha is indicating, 10 years of this Operation Pakistan program. And we should be, at least from your perspective, be able to put out what has been achieved versus the aspiration. Viewer, the last bullet of your presentation, last slide, on availability of funding for implementation, may be linked to Mr. Pasha's the growth of the economy, basically in the doldrums in South Africa and moving sideways internationally. It's something that even at a subsectoral level, we are picking up. It's just a comment. We are picking up at implementation, operationalization of pledges, so-called investments, which would be contributors to job creation, capital outlay, and all that. An absence of that funding is exactly what is a bottleneck. It gets to be even more dire if one goes to the public finance support system. There being irrelevant metrics against which to evaluate for support, for funding across these kinds of investments, so that you find the private sector pretty much on their own. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Zolani, you'll be the last one.
All right, thank you so much, Mr.
Please, for this
Polosh.
round.
And good morning, everyone. Mine was just a comment on both presentations from Ashia and Sisfiwe. Quick one on, I think there's an aspect, in as much there's a great potential for the benefits for or the opportunities from the oceans economy. I think one aspect maybe we also need to consider, especially in the case of Eastern Cape, is the reality in terms of our climate. How is it likely maybe to have an impact towards this potential great goal that we can be getting from the oceans economy, as well as I think there's one part that maybe I wish I could get from the presentation on the provincial level, or maybe the provincial point of view, in terms of the readiness of the province, how ready it is to take advantage of the opportunities that comes along with the oceans economy, given the fact that we still have we are still underdeveloped in terms of our infrastructure at the ports. We speak of the quality of our ports, as well as also the distributions level. So I think maybe in the level of the provincial, what I was I'm more concerned is the readiness of the province to absorb the pressure that comes, or maybe the pressure of the opportunities. It's green, it's green in terms of the highlight, but are we then in having enough infrastructure that is able to benefit the province in terms of the opportunities that comes along with this industry, oceans economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, colleagues, for very clear questions. Marcia, can you respond within the few minutes? Then you'll be most welcome to dash off after that.
Thank you,
Then
Program.
viewer will follow up after you've answered them. Yes.
Okay, thanks, Program Director. I wish I had more time because these are really, really good questions, and I can see it's going to be a great discussion. And I'm also sad to be missing out on the presentation thereafter, but I will catch up. Quickly, finalization of the Ocean Economy Master Plan is for the next financial year, which is we're aiming for June. That is what we are aiming for. It's an extensive stakeholder engagement process. We need to go through approval processes up to cabinet. So the aim is definitely for this year, for the master plan to be finalized, and maybe to tap into one of the comments that was made by a later speaker with regards to nothing has been done in implementation of the master plan. Just to note that whilst the master plan is not approved, it's not yet in implementation, but since we have been working on it for a while, we are highlighting that there are some initiatives that have actually already been undertaken. Timelines in terms of roadmap, the master plan is extensive in outlining per subsector interventions, per focus area in the master plan for 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and 5 years plus. Particularly infrastructure initiatives take a long time. Transformation elements are linked to skills development, particularly also localization and SMME development. Those are some of them. Yeah, each subsector of the master plan has a focus on specific transformation interventions. I obviously didn't have time to go through all the detail. Then on SDGs, yes, renewable energy is a sector. It's not one that's currently prioritized as a focus within the master plan, but from the offshore oil and gas, there is a look at how to move to more renewable sources. I think in terms of the slow implementation, yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to comment on that, but what I can say is that there has been implementation. There has been numerous challenges, COVID, economic factors, funding, capacity, etc. But I can tell you that there is still commitment to implement, and in actual fact, it is still highlighted as one of the country's priorities under inclusive growth and jobs for master plan implementation. The question about what has been achieved, it's a little bit technical, but let me put it this way. Operation Phakisa focused on a set of the sectors, not all the sectors. The 1 million and the 177 billion is based on the entire set of ocean economy sectors. Operation Phakisa decided to prioritize some, likewise with the master plan, and that's why it's a phased approach. So you're not comparing apples with apples if you just take Operation Phakisa performance against the aspirations. But as I indicated, there was an updated analysis, and it had a baseline in 2020 with forecasts in 2024. But that's why I think this webinar is so important, because we need to update our analysis so that we can see the actual performance. But I just wanted to highlight that Operation Phakisa on its own cannot be held responsible for the entire aspiration, because it focused on a set of sectors. And that's why I said one of the considerations is we need to unpack our definitions of what we are calculating. But I support and agree that we need to update it. We, of course, do look at what the performance of the Phakisa is. But in terms of the economic analysis, that is something that is work that we're looking forward to doing. I know that the Sahimi team is also working on it, as they were part of the initial analysis as well. And so that is an area we would like to collaborate with them on. On climate change, let me say that in the master plan for every subsector, each one of the 5, there is a focus on environmental considerations and also taking into account climate change. That is something that needs to be done and is happening. So just to maybe give some assurances there. I was also at a SALGA workshop not too long ago where there was a presentation on the impact of climate change on the specific sectors. I think I missed one on value chains. The Sahimi team, who is one of our key partners and stakeholders within the Ocean Economy Secretariat space of Phakisa, have done quite a detailed study on a value chain analysis linking to SMMEs. And so there is a lot of detail about the value chains. But for example, they are taken into account in the master plan development, because those have been unpacked and the interventions looks at it. So for each subsector, there will be various interventions, and for each of the subsectors, the value chains have been considered. So just to take one, perhaps in marine manufacturing and repair, which is looking at boat and shipbuilding, you would look at the manufacturing element, the supply of materials, technology and innovation, the processes for both building and shipbuilding, what kind of skills you will need for that sector, whether it is electrical, plumbing, etc. You look at the marketing element of the subsector, you look at transportation element. So I can give assurance that you know, there is a lot on the value chains on each specific subsector. If anybody would like to engage further, Chair, they can contact via yourself and Viwe, and we're happy to engage from our side.
Thank you very much, Masha, for taking time and honoring our invitation to come and speak. You can hear we are the people of the ocean. The ocean is here with us. When I get out of my house now, I look over, I see the ocean. So when we talk oceans economy, we talk it with passion. We look forward to welcoming you in the province to host you. We are very good hosts, so you should come and visit us in the province. One of our colleagues who asked you a question, Tobacco, is a very good host at the East London IDZ, where strategic investments in the aquaculture are taking place, and he always looks forward to hosting the guests there. And we can go to Hamburg. You see, when we talk small harbors, what are we actually talking about? You know, we can take you to Gqeberha. You see all these places so that you really have a very good sense of what you're talking about. So thank you so much for coming. We'll let you go, but first you must make a commitment to come to the province.
Program director, I definitely will come to the province. I actually had the opportunity to visit both East London and Port Elizabeth ports last year, and definitely a lot of activity happening. I do work closely with our aquaculture team here, so I do know that there's lots happening in that space. You have my commitment. I will come out and visit and engage with our ocean economy passionate partners. And then maybe just also to say for the person that was asking about the aquaculture, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment in the Aquaculture Delivery Unit does publish an aquaculture yearbook. A lot of information in there. It is also available on the DFFE website if you are interested to look for it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Masha, for coming. You are most welcome to leave the meeting anytime you have to leave. And viewer, you can tackle some of the questions very interrelated. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you so much, Debu, and thank you to the colleagues for the questions. Yes, they are very interrelated. I think Masha has touched on a lot of them. In terms of timelines for the provincial master plan and its completion, we, as I mentioned, that we are at advanced stages. I think we started this process last year already in terms of the calendar. We are also targeting the month of June to have a completed strategy. We are busy with the qualitative research and the quantitative research as well, which you will hear about in the next presentation. We will then engage in a write-up process, integrating the economic modeling together with the qualitative side of things. And then we'll get into the master planning, which then involves the translation of the research report into a plan. We're going to lay out the targets as informed by the quantitative research. We'll formulate forward-looking statements about the sectors. And then we will have, by the end of Q2, an integrated master plan document on oceans economy for the Eastern Cape province. So those are just the timelines and milestones in terms of the master planning. And then, of course, ongoing engagements will take place and take the strategy through the different approval platforms. In terms of value chains as well, there's a detailed study that was undertaken by SAIMI. It does consider, the value chains per each subsector, as Masha has spoken to. So at least then this gives us insight, and we do take consideration of all of the subsectors in terms of the value chains. And what's nice is that SAIMI also, they provide recommendations and findings and recommendations in terms of the value chains. The climate change aspect, I think this will, we will dedicate space on the master plan just on climate change and its impact. I just want to get to the exploiting the opportunities, I think, globally with with conflicts taking place, at a global, at the global space, the Middle East, for an example, which, if I make an example on the bunkering, affects the shipping traffic through, I think South Africa then is well positioned to offer bunkering services for the ships that will be rerouted via our shores. And as you know, that in the province, we do have the Algoa Bay, the Algoa bunkering services. And with that bunkering and operations being resumed now at Algoa Bay after a long period of lack of operations due to SARS and non-compliance issues, I think now we are at a point where we can position ourselves again and just be the hub in terms of the bunkering in the Eastern Cape, and take opportunity then of some of these global opportunities and exploit them. In terms of the absence of funding, and I think also taking advantage infrastructure issues. Yeah, I think now there is a political drive around, which was my first point in that slide, around the political buy-in and championing. At the highest level in the province, the Premier has really, been making the noise, if I may put it like that, around the oceans economy and its advancement. I think there are strides as well, and an engagement, intention of engaging, widely and broadly in attracting investment that will come into the province. I think then this addresses to an extent the issue around funding. Infrastructure, I think we still have a very, very long way to go in terms of our readiness to take advantage of opportunities. Just now, we've had the investment coming into the province around the small harbors, whereby there was consideration of about 10 sites for development. A bulk of those sites, they fell off of the criteria because of infrastructure-related problems. So there is a study, a very extensive report, in fact, in terms of the infrastructure-related challenges and recommendations. We've shared this with the coastal local municipalities that have been affected, and hoping that then we can be organized and we can work around advancing the infrastructure-related and structural challenges in the province. I think this then provides a step towards a direction of really being that will enable us to take advantage of the opportunity. I think I've covered all of the questions that came through. Thank you, and over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, viewer. That's a very comprehensive response, and I think the question about accounting for progress in implementation, it's a very legitimate question and a concern, and I think we need really to be moving into that phase where we start accounting about what's been done since we launched Operation Phakisa. And I can say, since I have the side of the work that we are doing to assess implementation, it's amazing what's coming out. That indeed there's quite a lot that's been done. For instance, when we are looking at TNPA, their reports on Phakisa projects, the Operation Phakisa project. I think Marcia referred to that when this initiative was launched, specific initiatives were identified. If you look at the TNPA, that is Transnet National Ports Authority, in terms of the information they are reporting about what's been done about those projects that were initially achieved, you could say they are almost like 98% completion of those projects. And this is what we are hoping, that as part of documenting the work and publishing the master plan, will bring this information to the fore about what's been done. You heard Viwe earlier talking about there's a lot that's been done in the space of marine and coastal tourism. Those colleagues, it's amazing the work they are doing, and you could see in the strategy for the province, we even allocated marine and coastal tourism as part of the drive for infrastructure development. I'm sure some of you would have been questioning, why do you put coastal and marine tourism as part of driving the marine infrastructure development? Is because a lot of the initiatives that the colleagues are driving they are relating to building the base infrastructure, to attract tourism, to attract tourists into our coastal areas, and very significant investment is going into those areas. So I think those are the things that we really must give account of to give confidence to the stakeholders and to the citizens of the province as a whole, that actually something is being done. It's even a major breakthrough that all the challenges that we have had with the international shipping lines having been halted from operating in the Alcoa Bay at Nelson Mandela Bay, that SARS has since resolved that issue. And now they can operate because they link the Eastern Cape and South Africa as a whole directly into the global value chains. As we know, the maritime industry is a global industry. It is at the heart of movement of goods across the world, and the Eastern Cape is uniquely positioned with Alcoa Bay for that. So with that being resolved, it means we should see again those operations coming back on stream and those revenues really coming on. But also it requires that the entrepreneurs, the business chambers, the associations, they position themselves accordingly, because as we know, transformation of the sector still remains an issue. Who participates in that sector? And with the shifting geopolitics, where like the Trump administration does not even want to hear that word, it freaks out when they hear the word transformation. It means we'll have to even drive it with more resilience, because the geopolitical balance of forces are definitely shifting, against inclusivity and transformation. But we know that that's our imperative. So I think it's a legitimate question that we need to start accounting about what's been done. And the master plan process we are embarking on now, the research work, is really meant to do that. And that transitions me very well to the next topic, because that's the work that our colleagues, Prof. Eta and Prof. Jean-Luc are doing. They are really about that. They are about taking account of what's been done and the capacity. And the good thing about it is, it's not the political talk that we usually make. They'll just be quantitative, be scientific, and they'll just paint a story about the Eastern Cape. So with that, I want to hand over to Prof. Eta. This is an ongoing conversation, colleagues. So when after they present, we'll then still continue the conversation until we conclude the webinar. Prof, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Let me find out if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen. There was a very nice question. I'm sure you're excited about it. From Vio asking about will this empirical study also be able to quantify the abalone industry? Okay. I'm sure you can be able to respond that for even those specific industries that are key the entire oceans economy. Will this scientific study be able to unearth the insights about such sectors?
Okay.
Okay, over to you, Prof. It's just that you have moved away your presentation now. I can't see it anymore.
Oh, okay. Wait, let me just give me a second. I just want to. Okay, let me just. Can you see it now?
I saw it before, but I can't see it now.
It disappeared. Okay,
yeah, it disappeared.
Okay. Let me try to share it again. And now?
It's coming. Okay, there you go. You can see it now.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for this webinar. And I think okay, I'm putting it on a presentation mode. I must say that I don't know whether people want to see me on my camera. Let me do that. Let me just give me a second. I'll just switch on my camera. Can you see me? Can you see my camera? Or can you see my video?
Yes, we can see you.
Very
we
good.
Can see you, Prof. Eta. Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. I must say that, okay, I'm putting it on presentation mode. I must say that
you can turn off your camera just to reserve the bandwidth.
Oh, okay. Very good. I will switch off my video so that, yes, the bandwidth is not interfered with. Thank you very much. I think the presentation from the national department, and as well as the presentation from VWE, they started with a broader perspective about they call it the blue gold. And I think sometimes if you don't want to say ocean economy, we call it the blue economy and so on. So, and I think we are happy for the opportunity to present on the Eastern Cape Economy Satellite Account. And I think this is just my outline of what
your presentation is off again, Prof.
Is it off again?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I think let me do it differently so that it does not. Okay, let me just see so that it doesn't disappear again. Let me share. I am going to share it, and then okay. Is it on now? Let me just hear if you can.
Yes, it's on.
Okay. I'm not going to.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. This is an outline of what I'm going to talk about. It's just to brief you about operation, the ocean economy, then the satellite account, impact and policy implication, and then we will summarize. And I must say that I am joined by my colleague, Jean-Luc. I will be the one starting with the presentation, and I think he will conclude with the last few slides. You have already heard from the previous two presentations that Operation Pakiza identified basically the aim is to focus on unlocking the economic potential of South Africa's ocean, which actually has a potential to contribute up to 177 billion to GDP in the next 8 years, that is up to 2033, and close to 1 million direct jobs. So, and I think this is a sector that is considered as a key to generate the much needed jobs and alleviate poverty. And in light of that, it is therefore important to conduct an empirical studies that quantify the impact of the ocean economy on the overall South African economy. Therefore, specifically in provinces such as the Eastern Cape, which has a longer coastal line. So conduct an empirical study on the ocean economy, specifically on the Eastern Cape. This is something that will provide a more detailed and focused analysis of the ocean's economic contribution to several macroeconomic indicators. The aim is to create, get the data, create satellite account, and then, very important, to use quantitative techniques. These quantitative techniques are the one that will have an analysis of the ocean economy's potential to accelerate economic growth, generate the much needed jobs, and obviously increase fiscal revenue through, for example, targeted policies. And then I think you are probably wondering, what is a satellite account? Yes, this is a statistical framework. This framework provides an analysis of specific sectors' contribution to economy. Therefore, it complements the central national accounts. And I must say that most countries are still battling to come up with satellite accounts, but you will see that we have managed to do something as we proceed with the presentation. And we believe that a satellite account would provide comprehensive insight into economic activities. These are economic activities that are related to marine and coastal resources. Here we are looking at things such as gross value added, the much needed jobs. I don't say employment, I say the much needed jobs and investment within the sector. And I think what I need to say is that the annual estimate for gross value added and all its components, for example, final demand, total production output, and intermediate consumption expenditure of the ocean economy satellite account should be derived using the supply and use table. And this will be done in line with the frameworks that are established by both the system of national accounts, the European system of accounts, and specifically the 1993 and 2008 system of national account. And obviously, and of course, the 1995 and 2008 European system of accounts. And this is very important. This is where now in 2014, something very, very important happened where the South African government launched Operation Pakisa, or the ocean economy, the blue economy, or the blue gold. The aim of this is to unlock unexploited potential of South Africa's oceans. And 6 priority growth areas were identified, and these are marine transport and manufacturing, offshore oil and gas exploration, aquaculture, marine protection services, and ocean governance, small harbors, and then coastal and marine tourism. And I think when you look at what is existing, the existing studies, to the best of our knowledge, South Africa has not yet implemented or fully implemented a dedicated satellite account for its ocean economy. Okay. This is despite, of course, the country has recognized that there is a significant potential of marine resources. Okay. And there are several strategies or strategic frameworks to harness this potential. However, we have not yet, or the country has not yet fully implemented a dedicated satellite account for this blue economy, or blue gold, as Viwe calls it. Now, in light of that, in this, what we are doing in this study, or what we are presenting, we are looking at the Eastern Cape ocean economy, okay? The Eastern Cape ocean economy, we estimate it using the Eastern Cape supply and use table, using the year 2023 as a reference year. We are trying to do something that is contrary, or something that is not there, because we want to make a contribution. And I think before we really go there, I must mention that if you look at the targets of Operation Pakisa for the year 2020, I will not be, if you look at this table, you can see for the year 2020, you can look at the GDP in millions, as well as the jobs created. These were the targets. And if you look at, for example, GDP is dominated by marine transport and manufacturing, as well as tourism. And then I think followed by construction. And then when you look at the jobs creation, I think tourism, not tourism, construction is the one that is dominating, followed by tourism, and then marine transport and engineering. So this is for both the year 2020 and 2024. And if you look at the performance, looking at this table here, we are interested in looking at the investment and the jobs, and as well as, very important, we also want to find out how much jobs or how many jobs are created for each million that is invested. And if you look at what is happening here, you could see most of the investments went to, I think it's dominated by oil and gas offshore, then followed by marine transport and manufacturing, and then aquaculture, okay? But the jobs, most of the jobs are in aquaculture, followed by marine transport and manufacturing. But if you want to see how many jobs are created for each and every million that is invested, you could see that it is actually, the first one is marine transport and manufacturing, followed by aquaculture, and then small harbor, and then coastal and marine tourism. Okay, you are probably wondering, yes, this one you have obtained it from previous studies and the national department, but what is it really? We want to hear about the quantification. The quantification, this is very, very important. And I must say, what we did here, when you look at this table, the table that is in front of you, this is actually a satellite account that we identified for the Eastern Cape ocean economy based on the raw data. We went to get the raw data from the supply use table, which we sourced from Statistics South Africa. Now, looking at this, we really had to really go down, get the raw data, okay, so that we can identify these sectors. You have seen earlier in my presentation that 6 sectors we identified, but because we went deeper to get the raw data, we were able to identify 20 sectors. And the contribution of this, I must say the last column is actually looking at the ocean economy involvement. So these sectors that we have identified, their contribution to the ocean economy, their contributions are not the same. They contribute differently. Some are major component of the ocean economy here, and some are medium and some are small. And I think if you look at the major sectors are fisheries and aquaculture, marine mining, offshore, oil and gas. And I think mediums are those sectors, for example, marine equipment, manufacturing, petroleum products and nuclear fuel, and then ship, boat, building repairs, and others. You'll be able to see that there are some minor, some small, and so on. That is actually what we did. And I think I must say, I will be handing over to my colleague, Dr. Jean-Luc Erelo, who will be able to now go into the methodology of the satellite account, the approaches that have been used to come up with a satellite account. So Jean-Luc, over to you. I think you will just let me know to move the slides.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. I don't know if people can see me. Otherwise, just to show my face, and I'm going to switch off the camera and then go to the real presentation. Okay, Prof has already introduced the kind of, or all the subsector we identified based on the exercise we did from the raw data we received to just classify them according to the standard international classification, which is basically recommended by the national account. So for that purpose, the satellite account we managed to create for the first time for the Eastern Cape province is a product of very, very tedious, you know.
And the country, Prof, not just the East, the country.
Yeah, and the country, yes, because yeah, so it's a very, very, very difficult exercise. I'm not saying that because you know, we deserve that the credit, but if you look at the people who are working in the national account of Statistics South Africa, they are team of people. They are those who are focusing only on, you know, just deriving the supply and the use table, and the others go to see how they can develop the NAM or this social accounting matrix at the macro level, and then another team are gonna just, you know, build that social accounting matrix. But anyway, we had the privilege to say, let's just do a new things, especially considering 2023 as a reference year, because the data seems reliable, and we are coming from COVID-19, where now the economy is stabilizing, the structure of the economy is stable, and then this seems to be a very new, you know, study, which need a credit for that. Now, it is true to do this exercise when we're required to just build the sum. We're excited to do that, only to find out that, you know, after we noticed Pakistan identify 6 or 8 of them, but we noticed that it was not enough because the quantification must be based on the scientific method, because we must link to the SIC code for each of those, you know, industries. So this exercise was done, and then we use to do that. I will just give one example. You know, we focus, for instance, on this methodology. 3 of them, as you know, when you derive the GDP estimate, you know, you have to use the supply use table, because that's where the industry interact between themselves. So that is very, very critical. And then to be able to do that, obviously, we have to use those 3 methods. I know there are 3 of them: production approach, generation of income, and the good and the services account. But if you will look at very well, the first one, for instance, when we say the production approach to be able to derive the Eastern Cape Ocean Economy Satellite Production Account, for that one, we must define normally the output as a resources, and also we're gonna consider the utilization of goods and the services when especially producing this output. In this respect, we need to make sure that the intermediate consumption is considered as a use. That's very important for those who are more familiar with this technique. And I'm saying that because the ocean economy GDP is normally the main balancing item in the production account. So it is also derived as the sum of, you know, all the gross value added. But in this level, we must always do it at the basic prices by all producers in that ocean economy. And then we're going to add also the net taxes on a product. That's the first methodology we use. And then there are formula for that. But I will maybe just focus on the first one first, because when we do that, we're going to look at now how the output at the base price is presented, how the intermediate consumption expenditure are presented, how the taxes less subsidy on product are presented, and then we're going to then estimate the the Eastern Cape Ocean economy GDP at that market prices. So this is basically what we do in the first methodology. Oh, sorry. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. So that is basically the first methodology, because the Eastern Cape satellite economy, it tried its best to capture all these. Prof, maybe you can see the second one.
The next slide.
Yeah, next slide, because what we want to show the people here, that formula used here shows that, when the output at basic price is considered, which we get it, I get it from the supply use table. But what was very, very important for us, taking the GDP of the provinces and then try to derive this, at the provincial level, that was not easy exercise at all. Now you can see here, this one led us to get exactly the Eastern Cape Ocean economy GDP at market prices, which is basically for the 2023 years, there is a 27.9 billions. So this was an exploit when we managed to balance that, because by creating specifically, now nobody has done, especially the supply use table for just one specific province like Eastern Cape. So this is the biggest exercise we did before we built the social accounting matrix. So we needed that, although this is important. So we managed to get that right. It was just a privilege to balance that. Now, because we are still here just for the production account, maybe Prof, you can put the next slide. You can see that in the next slide, we said, okay, if we put that into this kind of table to make it easy for everyone to understand, you can now see where is the most important variables. The first one is the users, what kind of intermediate consumption expenditure we used to be able to get those resources, the output. So to be able to do that, we managed now to get to say, okay, the GDPR, which is what we managed to get 27.9 billions. When you subtract that the tax subsidy on the product, we get that total here, and then it balances. So this is a very, very important table for those who are familiar with the techniques, those who have been able to build up supply use table. So this one was balanced again. And then we move forward. The next slide, please. So in the next slide, then we managed to, if you can move it, the next slide.
Okay. Wait.
Yeah. So before we go the impact of that, maybe let be here because before we see the impact, I wanted to say something else, because that methodology here we did just for one of the account of the production account was also repeated for others, because we do have 3 methodology to deal with that, but all of them give the same result. But we could not bring it here because it's part of the work we are doing in progress. So especially I want just to point out the second methodology there, where it was related to especially to the generation of income and the Eastern Cape Ocean Economy Satellite Account. Because when we speak about the generation of income, normally that distribute the transaction by which normally the value added generated by the production process in the ocean economy is distributed to, I want to mention that because it's important. We distribute that to the primary input. And in this case here, we include the labor, the gross operating surplus, and the mixed income. And also, we also take into consideration the taxes on income and the other transfer. By doing that, then we will be able again to get the GDP balanced from the provincial at the provincial level. That's where we generated that income account. So this one also was done, and then we managed to balance again. But the third one also, methodology, I just want to point it out also, is important, because that one is now related to the goods and the services account, and also the Eastern Cape Ocean Economy Satellite account, because that's one now normally most of the people are familiar with this one here, because whenever we say, what is the GDP, then we say, no, you need the government, the consumption, investment, and the export and import. So that is the familiar, formula where everyone is familiar with. And then, but still, I want to point it here because that goods and the service account here normally refer to the expenditure approach of just estimating the GDP. And this approach is normally well exploited in most academic literature with the Keynesian identity. So this is how we manage to do that. Now for all others, variables. But now coming to the impact of it, maybe we go to the next. We go to the next. Yeah, that one is saying the impact for the production. You can see that that production account it shows that the output indicate normally how strong those activities, those sectors, industries are operating, are interacting within themselves, within other sectors, but in the marine sector. So that one, when you look at how the fishing, the tourism, transport, and the shipbuilding are interacted, then we will be able probably now to answer to the question of the gentleman who was focusing on the abalone. He is right. On our level, when we go to the raw data, it is true we come across that, we managed to quantify that, and we put it together in the C code where, we are dealing with the fishery and the aquaculture. It is there. He is right, because that sector suffers a lot. There are a lot of illegal activities going there. But the output of abalone is a little bit substantial. Yeah. Now that it has been reported, maybe in our final report, we'll make sure that we give more insight to that subsector. And then we also noticed that the intermediate consumption, that one, if it's high, in this case, then it suggests a reliance on imported input, which also may require policy intervention to strengthen local supply chain. So that's how we look at this when we're busy balancing the supply and the use table. And also coming to the economic contributions, that one, normally it really encourages the sector's role in job creation and also the development in the provinces. So that is also good. Based on the data now we've got, it will be able to at least measure it correctly. And also we look at the output here. It encourages, especially the value added. The policy should focus on increasing local processing of marine resources. That is critical. But coming to the investment, now there are also certain area where now due to the technological innovation, then we must focus also on that and the infrastructure which can improve efficiency and reduce that intermediate cost. And then also we look at the sustainability of this industry in the long-term growth. That one will require a balance between then economic activity and the environmental conservation. So this is basically in summary the kind of policy we can point out. Now the summary, now the conclusion, we can go to the next slide. So while the exercise is almost done, because we have come now with the supply use table, which we are proud of it, to come up with, then we can then be able to build our social account matrix and be able to do few scenarios and then look at the impact of that blue economy in the economy of especially Eastern Cape and also South Africa. But in summary, we can just say that Eastern Cape, with its right now, we all agree that the coastline is extensive and the well-positioned port is true. As you can say here, I know Tabs say that Eastern Cape is strategically, positioned because of Agua Bay. That's true. It's strategical positions. And then we can see also, in terms of the output, the GDPR of this province is supported mostly, from that now supply use table, we can see now, maritime sector is playing a big role in the economy of the Eastern Cape. So based on the ideal percentage distribution of output, employment, which we managed to assess, and the investment, we can just say confidently now the province must align its strategies with national trend while leveraging its unique advantage. So I think that's the end of our presentation for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Eita and Prof. Jean-Luc. I know it's a mean feat to try to simplify your methodology so that at least all of us could understand what you are talking about. And I must say, it's for the first time I see economists presenting and they only have one slide with those Greek symbols. It's usually the economists, they would have these Greek symbols all over their presentation. And they would expect that everyone would understand what they are talking about. But I can see you kept it to the bare minimum and really explained the formula very well and very clearly. Thank you very much for that. Colleagues, these are the two experts we brought in. And I must say, that's because as a province, we don't have this skill and capability. We have our colleague, Dr. Kambale, but he is in so much demand that he could not be dedicated to this project for this period that we needed to do this study. I must say, even EXEC, it's battling to retain him because everybody wants him. So I'm just saying, if there are economists in the room, consider this field. It's a scarce skill for the country, and I must say, I've done my own little assessment. Even especially Black economists, South African Black economists. There are very few of them who have this skill in specialized skill in econometrics, but it's a very critical skill. So thank you very much, Prof. We look forward to seeing the full report. I think you have given us a very good appetizer with the study ongoing and how that is turning out, the insights that we've already derived. Any comments, colleagues? We should be closing quite soon. I think we have done well with time management. All our presenters have really kept to the time, but in my view, made their presentations very interesting and informative for us. Anybody would like to engage, colleagues, about this? Okay, I can see the hand of Ntobeko. Okay, that's the only hand I'm seeing right now. Okay, Ntobeko, you can come whilst others are. Don't intimidated by those Greek symbols. Prof. Jean-Luc explained them quite simply. Even I understood them. So
I must say, sorry, Chair, I must say that we had quite a number of symbols, but then we said if we are going to have a presentation that to make an impact, let us minimize all these equations so that people will be able to follow, because the aim is to make an impact of
Yes.
with our presentation. Yes, thank you.
Yes, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I can see other colleagues are coming. Okay, Ntobeko, let's start with you.
Thanks, Debsa, and thanks to the presenters. Debsa, we have 4 universities. Are you saying there are no econometrics specialists in 4 universities?
You will battle to find them. I can say that with 80% level of confidence.
Yeah, maybe we should shut down the economics departments. It explains why we have the Eastern Cape lagging behind the way it is doing. Maybe professors, I should read the write-up. It's not quite coming true in the presentation. Looking, for example, at your recommendation, observing or prospects of gross value added with processing some of these things that are being produced. I don't know the relevance of that recommendation. If, for example, one were to look at, again, Mr. Boy, abalone. It's a kind of snail coming out of the ocean, and abalone in aquaculture accounting for close to 90% of the value of aquaculture in South Africa. Its nature is that, and the consumption in China, the market, they want it barely processed. And if one were to process it, and what they do there, if one were to follow through the processing, it goes straight to the plate with sauces and all that. Now, if one at retail level, if one were to do that here in South Africa, there are no plates and tables in South Africa to realize that. It is in China. Now, as to the practicality, therefore, of doing so, I do not know, at least in the context of aquaculture. Maybe that recommendation has relevance in mining or in wool, animal fiber, the prospects of value addition locally. But perhaps I'm speaking out of turn. I would appreciate it if I were to engage the write-up itself, where the nitty-gritties are dealt with in more detail than the presentation. Thank you.
I think that's a fair comment. Maybe, profs, you can take the opportunity of the question to speak, give a bit of detail on your methodology there, because admittedly you could not go into detail of each, but in responding to that, maybe you can go in a bit more detail. I see Mr. Mtati, be followed by Ian.
Thanks very much, Chairperson. I will also contest your assertion about the lack of capabilities in the Eastern Cape, but I'll park that for now. The part I would be interested in is the slide that indicates that what is the actual percentage of the contribution. That's the part I'm interested in. Now, the second one is on the value chains that are attached to, for an example, if you consider fishing in the Eastern Cape, there's only extraction, processing is elsewhere. So the second last slide speaks to the policy positions on perhaps on the deepening of the local value chains, which I think would be important for the Eastern Cape. So I'm also looking forward to the full write-up so that we'll be able to engage meaningfully with it. But the point, I just wanted the percentage contribution so that, you know, is it significant? Is it insignificant? And if we want it to be, what are the things to be done? Yeah, thanks very much. We'll have the discussion about the fact that SAIMI is doing the same work for the country using 3 methods: the satellite account, the GVA, and the GGP. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mthat. I look forward to this conversation, since SAIMI it's specifically in the field of skills development and addressing the critical scarce skills, albeit in the specific maritime industry. I think it's an important conversation about what capability do we have as a country and as a province, and what are our universities producing. Yeah, it will be an interesting conversation to have going forward. Okay, Mr. Assam, you can come in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you to the 2 presenters for the excellent work that they're doing there. I just want to get confirmation of this work that they're doing with any partnership that they have with Stats SA, just to make sure that there's no dispute about the statistical methodologies and the outputs that flow from that, Chair. Depending on the answer, I may engage with you outside of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Very, very specific question. Yeah, and I think that's what they started with. Okay, I see Nwabisa.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Prof, for the presentation. From my side, I wanted to quickly there's something we've been battling with in estimating GDP in terms of expenditure approach, that is consumption. So we've always battled in terms of estimating that. May Prof kindly help us in terms of how they estimated that? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Prof and Prof Jean-Luc.
Yes. Yes, thank you very much. We have taken
if you choose to please come to my defense. Mr. Pacela and Mr. Mtati are contesting
okay.
my assertion about production of econometricians.
Okay. I think yes. Thank you, Teboho. I think when we are looking at this data and getting excited, going back, and then we realize that, oh, we haven't done this, we have to go deeper. And I know that I think we all get excited, but I think Jean-Luc get excited even more, and he want to fly. Jean-Luc, I think let me allow you to go first, and then I'll see whether I need to add, whether there is something that I need to add, or yeah, you can go first.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with the gentleman who say no dispute with Statistics South Africa. Number one, we know very well that in the country, there is no any other organization which produces data from the first source like Stat South Africa, because Stat South Africa is the only organization in the country which produces those data for at the industrial level. So any other organization come here, I know people are relying heavily on those other, I don't want to call the names, they are the only one who produce the data today, nowadays. Anyone need data will say, no, that is where we go straight. They do have it, we buy, and the people are buying a lot of data there. And what is even a shame is that in one organization, you will see that department, they subscribe there for themselves. Another one will also subscribe, while they are all within one institution. It's just because people don't know that Stat South Africa, when they produce the data, it is true, they try to meet the need by just giving us the aggregate data, which is produced and everyone can get access of that. Now, anyone who is interested in the raw data, Statistics South Africa never refuse no one the data. You go through the same process, you ask the data, and the director to the relevant person, and the person who is dealing with that is gonna just try to provide for you what you need. Now, when we go there, we say we need a supply use table. They said to us, this is what we've got, and the only thing we can help you, we give you the data here, but we limit it ourselves here. For us, we assume that those are the few sectors related to the maritime sector. That's how we can help you. Nonetheless, we have received, the request from, the other organizations who are dealing specifically on the ocean economy, who wanted to build any other, let's say, SAM or social accounting matrix or supply use. But unfortunately, no one has done that. So the only supply use table we've got at the national level is from Statistics South Africa, and for the year reference 2022, that's the latest one. And it's going to take them another 2 years to publish the next one. So it's not a small exercise. But we, because we are statistician economists, so I worked in Statistics South Africa before. I know how data is collected. We know how data is published. I did that while I was working there, crime statistics, transport, all this, I did that. So anyway, we know how to get the data. So we got the raw data, what we need. Now, there is no dispute at all, because if, for instance, Statistics South Africa said, guess what? That is the GDPR. They are the one who calculate that. They calculate for the production side, and then the consumption side, they go negotiate with Reserve Bank. Now, they must reconcile. But still, what is important is we know that for us, we rely on Statistics South Africa because they collect data from the first source. So when we are calculating the income approach, that lady, she's correct, because the generation of income and that method which Statistics South Africa must sit together with the Reserve Bank. They sit because most of the time to balance that is not easier, because you will see Reserve Bank say ours is higher than yours. But then they must try by all means to reconcile that. That's why you see the generation of income normally record distributive transactions. Now, I want to repeat for this lady that you focus on that, record that carefully, the distributive transaction by which, the value added generated by the production process in that specific sector is distributed to the primary input. That's how it works. Now, you must include also the labor compensation of employee. You include that labor, and then not only that, you also look at how the gross operating surplus, where you're captured, and then what about the mixed income? After you have reached that level, you must then also consider the taxes on the income and the other transfers. Now, all these things, Reserve Bank and the Statistics South Africa must sit together, try to see how can we deal with that. And then the ocean economy GDP should be the main balancing item. That is that's where it's not, I don't say that it's easier. For those people familiar with this, it's a very, very, very big exercise. It takes time, months after months. They don't just come and try to sit there and get it right, fix it one time. No. They must try now to balance the item in the generation of income output. I hope that is helping, because what will happen in that formula, I didn't give to you. Maybe I can say, because you asked the question, the formula normally used to derive that generation of income account for the when you are concerned about either for the country or the province, like Eastern Cape. In that, I didn't give to you, but you will see in the simplest way to deal with that, I'm going to try to make it simple. For instance, you have to get the compensation of employee. That value is given. You get it? And then you add to that the gross operating surplus, which is basically the mixed income here. You must add to that again the tax less subsidy on the product. After you have done that, what about other taxes less subsidies on the production? You must also add to that. And now, if you add compensation for employee, you add gross operating surplus or that mixed income, and you take the into consideration tax less subsidy on the product. And on top of that, you add those other taxes less subsidy on production. That's how you get to what we call the GDP at the market prices. Now, because of the time, I put it this way so that you can understand that that amount must now be equal to the one you had from the production approach. The production approach, we don't have doubt for that because we believe that Statistics South Africa did a good job. So we are now dealing with this one here to make sure that we reach the same, amount of the GDP. So by doing that, how we put it as a supply use then table. Remember, it's going to be balanced. The generation of income account as such must be put in that two columns. You put on one hand the uses, which include those compensation of employee, tax less subsidy on product, tax less subsidy on production, gross operating surplus. You get this total. But those ones specifically must balance. Remember, I didn't speak about GDP here. I just put for you those variables: compensation for employee, tax less subsidy on product, tax less subsidy on production, and gross operating surplus. It will give you the total amount there, which is the output. And this one must balance with the South Africa GDPR for the province. So that is the simplest way I can explain for you how we do that. But now, maybe the question will be, what can we learn done from this account? As you can see, the way of dealing with that, normally the total income generated, should be shared between three parties. We must make sure that the workers, for instance, in that specific sector, in this case here, we can focus on the ocean economy, they are earning a certain amount of money, which is captured in form of wages and salary. And that's why we call this compensation of employees. And then we're going to also look at the return on investment, for instance, because this is now the gross operating surplus section, which has got a certain amount of money there. And this is the amount earned by, I must focus on this. I must insist by saying this is the amount earned by investors in the ocean economy, specific. And then we add the government in form of taxes and the subsidies. Now, when we look at this, now maybe, if I can summarize, this is maybe the lesson which we can learn probably from what I just said here regarding the generation of income account. The lady is correct because this technique is not easy. We need people with skills who can understand the numbers and understand the economy at the same time. Because if you bring only the statistician, they will be limited. They will be not able to explain when the guy from the Reserve Bank is bringing the issue of, money and so forth. So what is going to happen? It's going to create a problem. So that's why we need those two category of people to sit together. And then the relation should be the employee compensation must constitute a significant portion here, which should be reflecting the labor intensive nature of the industry, of that industry. And also coming to that, especially gross operating surplus, that one must indicate a substantial, that is about the profitability within the sector. So this must be quantified here, there in that level. And then the tax revenue. This one is derived from the sector support government funding for those, it can be the infrastructure and the public services. So that is how I can explain it for everyone to understand that approach to make it simple and easy. But in our exercise here, we managed to do all the three to be sure that the output are still balancing are correct. Otherwise, we cannot progress, because if we cannot balance whatever we quantified here, for example, for all those subsectors. I know the question regarding the one who wanted the percentage of contribution for the gross value added. We did the same exercise. Here in the presentation, we only show you for the production account. What about the gross value added? What about the compensation for employee? What about the tax? All these things. And we did that separately, but we could not present all this in this presentation here. But it has been done separately for each account. And then we put that in one total table, which basically balances and then shows us if this is the GDP of the provinces. Now, all the output, the compensation of employment, the investment, the gross value added, all these things come to the same total of output. So we have done that. And then because of that, now the first question was about the gentleman value added for the aquaculture, the abalone. As I said again, yes, abalone, we all know it is true. China is everything is exported to China, but it's captured. What about the customs data? Remember, we declared that. How much? So all the information have been captured. But in the exercise we did to come with the supply use table, we do have the specific percentage for each one of them. So we are confident now we do have number attached to every single 26 subsector we managed to identify here. So that's what I can say at the moment. I hope I have answered to all the questions.
Yeah, I think thank you, Jean-Luc. I think when I wanted to add to say, yes, there are different modeling techniques, and I think you can do either a normal modeling technique where you explain the relationship between several variables, and I think in this case we're looking at supply and use table in preparation for using the sum, which may not be similar or which are not similar to the other types of econometric modeling exercise. So that's what I thought I should add.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Yeah, we want to make sure that there was no confusion. The econometrics is mostly for the forecasting, predicting this. This technique here is a specific field in economics where few people have the privilege to go learn how we can take all the information, all the variables, all the macroeconomic variables in the economy to put them together in one table. Now, supply use table is one section only where we are limited only to see how each industry interact with another one. The one who is working in agriculture sector, he goes by, the thing which are manufacturing there. He use the transport, he use the, other sectors, electricity and so forth. So all those interactions are captured in that small table, which represent that section of the input-output section of the economy. Now we capture that on what we call supply use table. Now that is on its own is one field which is a very, very, very important field which need special knowledge for that. Now the people who limited themselves there are the people most of the time you will say we can only use input out table to do those analysis here. Yes, you can do some kind of analysis, but it will be limited to the industries and the commodity level. Now we move out of it, we add to that supply use table, we say no, Then we're going to use what about the government? What about the household? The social aspect of it is added to this table, which then we call social accounting matrix. Now, social accounting matrix now will show us now more or less all the agent of the economy, all the spectators,
Yes.
all the economy, how they interact within themselves. And then this one is not enough yet still, because then this can be then taken again to another model, which you call then computable general equilibrium model. Now, that social accounting model could be used like what we call the database to be used for the doing now the impact of all this on the entire economy as well. So those are three specific kind of models which are specific are more a little bit particular.
Yes. Maybe before the chair you come in, I think that's what I wanted the last part that Jean-Luc explained. That's what I wanted him to give more
the general
details.
equilibrium, equilibrium model.
From the social accounting matrix, general equilibrium, because I know no matter how tedious the data is, and I think he likes it when the data are tedious and then they give trouble. So I think the last part is what I really wanted to hear from him too, so that he can actually be able to tell the different types of modeling technique, your normal econometrics where you do your regressions and so on, as we normally do forecasting, and this supply use table, social accounting matrix, computable general equilibrium. So that is what I wanted it to come in, and I think he explained it properly. Thank you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's also where I wanted him to land at, and I think he did that. Thank you very much, Profs, for that comprehensive and explanation. I think patiently explaining, understandably, that these concepts are quite technical, and you can really do your best to simplify them so that all of us who are non-technical in our work, in as far as statistical economics, econometrics are concerned, we can understand. We deal with these issues every day, so we know what's going on, and it always helps to bring the other element on board. So thank you so much for that. And just to emphasize that these are early stages of this study, so much more insights are still going to come. What we've done with in contracting the two profs is that once they are done with the satellite account, once they have constructed built the satellite account for the oceans economy in the Eastern Cape, they must train us on the use of that model. And here we're thinking about all the colleagues that are involved in the oceans economy space in the province, all the colleagues that we work with, right from the coastal local municipalities, the public entities, government departments, and even our stakeholders in the industry, such as the clusters and the chambers, that we be trained on how to use this model so that in our own spaces we are able to use the insights that are going to come. As we had that very insightful question of Vuyo, which really then became the anchor of the whole conversation, about whether will you be able to quantify the contribution of abalone. We would like colleagues in their own specific industries to go into the satellite account and be able to see the contribution of their own specific industries. As we use the model, we are obviously going to get feedback on how it works, whether it's able to derive the insights that we want, and then we can have follow-up studies on this. It will definitely will have to be updated after a certain period, and that's something that we will do. And also, as we have heard in this webinar, SAIMI is working on the similar study at the national level. That's going to be very important because the province must always be informed by what's going on at a national level. The good thing is both Prof. Eita and Jean-Luc, you could say one word that kept coming is balance. Everything must balance. Everything must balance. So you can't have a national picture saying this and then you have the province saying this and they are disjointed. So everything has to balance. So that would mean that once the SAIMI study at a national level is concluded, we have a side of that, and we have the side of the provincial satellite account. Is going to give us even a richer perspective, and we can have an ongoing conversations about this. The national master plan, we've heard that Marcia is saying it's on course to be concluded soon. The provincial master plan is on course, it will be concluded soon. So all those are really going to give us a very comprehensive picture about the potential of the oceans economy in the country and in the province. And with that, colleagues, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. It's now 12:30. I think we've had good conversations. You can follow up on us on when the satellite account will be concluded, because if you want to be part of that training on the account, Prof. Jean-Luc and Prof. Eita are contracted as part of their contract to train us on that, and they also acknowledge that that's what they will have to do. So there's going to be that skill transfer to us as provincial stakeholders. Can we end it there, colleagues? Hoping that you found the conversations useful and informative, and they've given us critical insights that we can then go back to our spaces and deal with. I really look forward to you interacting very closely with the data as it comes forth, interrogating it like as you did here, Mr. Oda and Mr. Mtati, the kinds of questions you are posing. I look forward to that. You can see that they excite Prof. Jean-Luc. The tougher the question is, the more excited he gets. So with that, thank you so much. And the webinar closed. Zwanga, do you have any announcements? This is your webinar. You are the one who put it together. Let me give the last word to you.
We're fine.
Okay. Colleagues, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Hope to see you next time in one of our events. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Bye.